And welcome to episode 183 of the most must-see award-winning show to ever hit the Bedford TV airwaves, or any airwaves for that matter. North, south, east, west. Backwards, frontwards, diagonally, sideways, any which way you look at it, all around the world. The Wrestling Connection. I am your host, your connection to the wrestling world, Mr. Ken Hill, at your service, delivering all the news to you and wrestling today. Sad to say, we are having a repeat performance of old school Wrestling Connection, as we are still having technical difficulties with our switcher, but still, I promise to deliver all the news in wrestling going on today, to the best of my ability, and that's a great amount of ability, if I do say so myself. All right. Behind the camera today is, of course, Mr. 8-Ball himself, Mr. Nick Giulio. Sadly, he cannot chime in on the festivities. Like I said, we are going very low-tech, very old school today. But we promise that everything will be back up and running very, very soon. Which I hopefully mean next week. All right, so anyway, and like I said, we don't have pictures. So basically, I gotta deliver to you all the hot topics going on in pro wrestling today. One of those being the big time promo that basically the Spitfire going on between one Roman Reigns and one John Cena as their match for No Mercy was made official. Now, a lot of hoopla has been made about this, basically and I'll basically just get right to the point of it. Basically, this was the public roasting of Roman Reigns by John Cena, of all people. Now, I mean, Cena pretty much hit every single check mark that people have had issue with Roman, that more or less he's like corporately produced. The fact that they're more or less trying to make him the next John Cena instead of just letting him organically grow and be the first Roman Reigns, which Roman himself pointed out. Why would he want to be the second coming of anything? This is something Shawn Michaels pointed out to Seth Rollins a couple years back. Why would you want to be the second coming of anyone? Why not be the first? Pointing it up itself. All right, so Cena hit that check mark. Next thing was that, okay, Roman cannot do a promo to save his life, okay? The fire that he had in his promo versus Cena from this past Monday, as Cena pointed out, was probably the first decent promo he had in the 5 years since he was with the Shield and since he departed from the Shield. All right, so I mean, I can only put into words so much just how harsh this was. This was what I like to call a scorched earth promo. Basically, Cena spared no blow when it came to to Roman Reigns. Basically, the fact that he was everyone considered a carbon copy of Cena, the fact that he was pretty much being forced down everyone's throat, and the reason being that Cena is still around, even though he is now approaching his 40s, and is strictly a part-timer at this point, a free agent, is that Reigns is not getting the job done as establishing himself as the leader of the new era, as the leader of the new generation. Reigns isn't doing his job, so Cena's got to step in and pick up the slack, even though he's on a strictly part-time schedule. So pretty much Cena just went postal on Reigns, and Reigns did get in a few shots of his own, pretty much calling Cena a part-time, B word. Obviously I can't, even though we don't have the delay. I can't really go into semantics here, so just take my word for it. I mean, Reigns got a few good shots of his own in on Cena, pretty much calling him a part-timer, saying, okay, he brings out his golden shovel. He acts like a vicious shark, pulling everyone else underwater while he tries to be the one to stay on top of the surface. Now, there's some truth to that, but I mean, Cena more or less dismissed this like he always has. I mean, the fact is, Cena does not make the decisions about who goes over. All right, Cena does not have that kind of pull. He doesn't have creative control like, say, Hogan or Nash had back in the WCW days. Okay, I mean, yeah, he can suggest, he can say, all right, I think it'd be a better idea for to go over, but guess who gets the final say in that? Vince McMahon. Okay, Cena's the soldier. Okay, I mean, he takes the orders from along with everyone else takes the orders from Vince, and that's the way it goes. Okay, I mean, you want a prime example of this. Okay, you want to go all the way back to 2006, Unforgiven, 2006, and I think I brought this example up one or twice, but just to bring it back around. All right, it was Edge versus John Cena in a tables, ladders, and chairs match. Edge's specialty in Edge's hometown of Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Now, Edge and Cena had a long-standing feud at the time. It was reaching its climax, its climactic conclusion, and the story and the stipulation here was that this was Cena's last chance. If Cena lost the match, he would go to SmackDown. He would be kicked off of Raw, and he'd be sent to SmackDown. Now, the thing about this was, I mean, the backstage going on here, the backstage news about this was that Cena himself wanted to lose to Edge. He wanted to put Edge over, go to SmackDown, turn heel, because in the last year and a half, his character had fallen on hard times. The fact is that he ran up against popular veterans like Kurt Angle, like Triple H, Chris Jericho, and RVD, and Cena had ran into some rough ground, and the fans were not as attracted to him, were not as endearing to him as they were when he first came onto the scene as the Doctor of Thugonomics. So basically, Cena thought, okay, if I go to SmackDown, if I turn heel, if I go back to my roots, what got me over with the crowd in the first place by being all thuggish and beating people up and being a heel and being a bad guy, it'll get me over with them, and it'll endear me once again, and I'll have that edge that maybe Rock had when he went from being Rocky Maivia to being The Rock. So, I mean, a good mindset for Cena. But what do Vince and company do? Vince vetoes the idea. He nixes the idea because Cena is finally getting over with like the core of the WWE's viewing audience because of his long-standing feud with Edge. He's finally ingratiating himself to the Raw audience, like the essential audience for WWE viewing, for WWE's revenue, for their viewership. And Vince doesn't want to lose that, so he nixes the idea and says, okay, we got to keep you on Raw. We got to keep you on the flagship program. You are our star. You are our go-to superstar. We need you here. And instead of opposing this idea, instead of saying, okay, I understand that, but you need to start putting other stars over, I need a chance to revamp myself, Cena basically just says, okay, Vince, whatever you say. And just goes with it. And I had to think that this is pretty much exactly, this has to be the starting point. This has to be the prototypical point where basically it's no longer about what the fans feel or what the superstars feel. Everything that goes on in WWE goes by Vince's whim, his fanatically oblivious whim. Okay? Regardless of whether he truly knows best or not, everything has to go through Vince. He has the final say, whether he's involved with it or he's not. Which just stumps me, because, okay, if I haven't already pointed this out, let me just bring this to the front and center. WWE in the last couple of years, the last few years, has been making the same mistakes that WCW made before it went out of business. Admittedly, it hasn't gone to the point where they've had like a finger poke of doom scenario. But the fact that they've had an overdependence on part-time superstars, that they've had to bring in outside talents like Shinsuke Nakamura, like Bobby Roode, like Roderick Strong, and bring in an influx of talent without without the means to cultivate what homegrown talent they already have. Basically, they're bringing in other superstars from other promotions to say, oh, hey, look, we're still relevant. We have these stars that we know you'll like, but we're not going to push the ones that we already have because you don't care about them anymore. But the only reason we don't care about them anymore is because you never bothered to push them in the first place. WWE, Vince McMahon, Vince. You never bothered to push these guys to begin with. Dolph Ziggler is a prime example. Is one of the best examples of a failed experiment, because you had so many opportunities to put Dolph Ziggler over. 2014 being a prime example when he was going up against the Authority, ended up being the sole survivor coming out of the Team Cena versus Team Authority match, which no one here called. No one called Ziggler winning this match, of all people. He ends up being the sole survivor. Should have given him a major boost, put him over towards, going back into the world title hunt, and he never so much as sniffs a world title, a world championship. Oh yeah, he gets a couple of token runs of the Intercontinental title. That's it, nothing else. I mean, that's just one example of a homegrown superstar not getting the proper motivation, not getting the proper push. And now what's Ziggler doing now? He's doing some sort of kind of meta, fourth wall breaking character, like mocking meta type character that, okay, no one's going to care about, okay? Too little, too late, okay? No one cares about Ziggler anymore. And that's not our fault, okay? That's not our fault for not caring about Ziggler. It's WWE's fault for making us not care about Ziggler. Basically, we try to be behind Ziggler for so long, and WWE says, okay, you can pine for him all you want. We're not going to push him. So, okay, so Vince, who claims to be a pretty good listener, doesn't want to push talent that we, the fans, believe could be the next big superstars, could be cornerstones of the new generation, like Dolph Ziggler, like Antonio Cesaro. Not because these guys are indie darlings, not because of their backgrounds, of their previous accolades in professional wrestling, but because they're good, they're charismatic, they're uber talented. Oh, all right. They have the potential to do great things, but God forbid, Vince and Kevin Dunn don't think so. It boggles my mind that you have these guys just sitting here on the sidelines, riding the pine, as Miz said. Miz is another example. This guy who should be contending for the World Championship, and you've got him taking as the Intercontinental Champion, you got him taking clean pinfalls from Roman Reigns and Cena, who aren't even competing for a championship. And basically, you have two top superstars in WWE who are feuding because of a Twitter comment, because of Twitter. Never mind they actually hate each other. I mean, we had to have that, like I said, that scorched earth promo from John Cena. I mean, that could have kickstarted things right there. You didn't need the whole Twitter thing. That's another problem I have. Okay, WWE is far too reliant on social media. Okay, trust your superstars. Don't trust little blurbs on Twitter or on little backstage videos on YouTube. Okay, have them go out on TV and start feuds. Okay, trust them to put themselves over, to put their opponents over for an upcoming feud, for an upcoming match. All right. I mean, that's going down a completely different rabbit hole right here. Getting back to the point I made about WWE and its over-reliance on not only part-timers, outside talent, but veterans. Okay. You look at John Cena, obviously. The fact that now he's a free agent, he's allowed to jump between Raw and SmackDown, pretty much tells you, okay, they're trying to get in as many quote-unquote dream matches that they can out of Cena, because they know his time is running short, because they know he's going off to film the new Bumblebee movie shortly. So they want to get in as many dream matches as possible, versus Roman Reigns, versus Samoa Joe. They already had him versus Baron Corbin, although I think that could have ended a hell of a lot better than it did at SummerSlam. All right. And I mean, you look at the other end with another veteran, Randy Orton, who has just been, ever since Royal Rumble, has basically just been phoning it in. I mean, and whether, okay, yeah, he's getting paid, but he doesn't like the direction his character is going. Okay, Orton, all right, okay, money can only cover for so much, all right? If you have a problem with the direction the product's going in, say something, okay? You have some clout. You are a veteran, okay? You've been around there long enough that I think some people would have to listen to what you have to say. If you don't like the direction you're going in, say something. I mean, what are they going to do? Give you the boot? Okay. After all your years of service, you think they'll just like say, "Oh, bye, Randy," and just kick you out? No. Okay. Like, the other thing I don't like is that these veterans, like Cena and Orton, think that they don't have a say in anything, but they do. It's not like they can say, okay, if you don't do this, we'll walk out, because then WWE will say, bye-bye, see you later. But just point out that, okay, they could be doing more like Chris Jericho does. What does Jericho do? He comes back, revamps himself a little every single time, and puts over new talent. What does he do what did he do when he came back this time? He put over AJ Styles. What did he do before that? He put over Kevin Owens. What has he done? He's put over Fandango, of all people. He's put over Bray Wyatt. Every time, sometimes he's had success putting these guys over, other times not so much. But the point is, Chris Jericho knows his role. He doesn't make it about himself. He comes back. It's always about whoever he's facing off with, elevating them, giving them the rub. All right, that's what I think needs to be Cena and Orton's mindset from now on. Okay, all right, try to be a little more motivated. Understand that you are paving the way for the new generation right here. All right, and hopefully that would motivate Orton, because, like I said, whatever his excuse is for phoning it in for the last 7-8 months, it's no excuse. Okay, you are a veteran. You are a professional. And sorry that, okay, things have not been going your way, Randy, but grow up. You need to move on. You need to start being the veteran that people want to look up to, that people want to work with, because they know they'll get major kudos, they'll get major points from working with someone as experienced and who has such a great in-depth knowledge about wrestling, given his pedigree as an Orton, a third-generation superstar. All right, they'll learn so much from working with you. And if they see how unmotivated you are, no one's going to want to work with you, because, okay, you're not going to care. You're not going to care about putting them over. You're not going to care about elevating them. Start caring. Start looking out for the younger generation. Start looking out for the superstars that hope to be as great as you and Cena one day. Look to them like you once looked to Triple H, is what I'm saying, okay? Triple H was a veteran to you and was a mentor to you and Batista. So was Ric Flair, all right? Do it for their memory. Do it in honor of them, okay? Show that you have the motivation to elevate the new generation like they did to motivate you and Batista to be the main eventers you were destined to be. All right. So, getting back to the point of things. I'm worried. I'm concerned for the state of WWE. It's in flux. I mean, yes, you've got the Mae Young Classic going on, a new influx of women, of great female talents coming in, including Serena Deeb, a former WWE superstar, Shayna Baszler, going for one of the 4 horsewomen of MMA, making her way through the tournament making her way through professional wrestling in WWE, among others. I mean, there's that. But WWE is truly in a state of flux, and the fact that the ratings, aside from the occasional spike, are still in an overall decline, I think has to concern WWE. They have to realize that, okay, the direction they're going in is not good, and something needs to change. All right, that they need to start finding new talent, new superstars, new headline superstars from within, and not constantly reaching out for part-timers and popular indie stars who are already approaching in their early to mid 30s, okay? Because then these guys are not going to have a lot of mileage on them, so you need to look elsewhere to younger talent that can be, the next big superstars to put over. And I mean that's just the thing. I can't really name any examples right now. I mean, because there's no one out there that truly stands out that could be that next big superstar. Like I said, the nearest example I can give is Dolph Ziggler, and we've already been up and down the road about Ziggler's unrealized potential. I mean, like I said, WWE's made I point is that WWE has made a lot of the same mistakes that WCW did when it was on its last legs. All right, and they are getting dangerously close to making a critical mistake that could very well put them in the red right here if they're not careful. Okay, the fact is, Vince is not listening to the fans, and that's the biggest problem of them all. Okay. All right, there came a point where Eric Bischoff and Ted Turner and Hogan and Nash and others stopped listening to the fans and basically just spent their time on WCW just doing whatever they want, adding numerous members to the NWO, pretty much having it so that having it booked so they won every match, which took a lot of the surprise and mystique out of professional wrestling. Because if NWO always won, what was the point of tuning in? Okay, for hoping for a different result if it wasn't going to ever go that way, if it wasn't ever going to go any other way. And I mean, now it's the same thing. Vince is trying to push Roman Reigns down our throats when we are very unwilling to accept him, because essentially he's constantly being corporately backed, which is okay. If you let him ingratiate himself to the audience naturally, I guarantee he would become the main event. He would become the cornerstone of a new generation that Vince is looking for. But he's got to let it happen organically, naturally. He can't keep forcing the issue because, it's reverse psychology. The more you try to the more Vince tries to force Roman Reigns on us, the more we're going to reject him. Okay, we rejected him the first couple of years, and then when Reigns went over Undertaker, the crowd was, the fans are now apoplectic. They are absolutely unwilling to accept Reigns, and Vince is still trying to go this route. He's still trying to go the route of saying, okay, here's the leader of the new generation. You must respect him. You must cheer for him, and the fans are not having that in the slightest. Bottom line, something's got to change. And I don't want to go back to the CM Punk pipe bomb from 2011, from 6 years ago. Because I don't want to say that things will hopefully change when Vince McMahon dies. Because no one, especially me, wants to wish death on anyone. Even Vince McMahon. I don't want to wish death on anyone. Ever. Okay? But something has to change here, okay? Either Vince has to step away, or he's going to fall. He's going to have to fall ill. Something is going to have to happen for Vince to step away from WWE, so that someone can step in, someone along the lines of Triple H, who can take the WWE product in a much more proper direction, and hopefully fulfill the vision of WWE that a lot of us, including myself, have for WWE. Where we don't fall back on part-time talent, we don't fall back on veteran talent, that we don't look outside to popular wrestlers, and rather focus on the potential talent that we have within the company. That's what I think that's a lot of people, if not everyone, is hoping for. Now, obviously, we're not hoping that Vince falls ill. We're not hoping that something malicious happens to him. But, Vince has to consider stepping away at some point. He has to come to the realization that he is not in his right mind. He hasn't been in his right mind for a long, long time. And whatever creative genius he once had in the 90s and the early 2000s has gone so far out the window, we've all lost sight of it. Something has to change. It really does. I mean, it goes without saying, but I'm saying it right now. I guess something has to change, and it has to start with Vince. It has to start with the very tip of the iceberg, Vince McMahon. Something's got to change. All right. So aside from that, aside from the whole debacle with Reigns and Cena and the state of WWE, okay, we also have Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar, official for No Mercy. Now, a lot of talk has been going on about this, where, okay, now the plan is Strowman ready for the championship, which is something I discussed last week. Now we look at it from this week, which is basically just Lesnar and Heyman making their point clear that Strowman is not going to run Lesnar over like he's done the last couple of weeks. I don't know if that's just big talk or if Lesnar honestly feels that. But the point being is that, all right, I said it before, Lesnar is a special attraction. Okay, he has been a special attraction. He's always going to be a special attraction. And I've said that he'll always be that with or without a championship on his shoulder or around his waist. Now, Strowman, okay, he has been pushed over the last year and a half, a little under 2 years, as Vince's next big pet project. Okay, he's slowly but surely been built up as a devastating individual, as the new wrestling monster on the WWE roster, and he has been made, and he's very effectively so. Okay, the fact that he is dominant against the like of Samoa Joe, Roman Reigns, the fact that he's laid out the Universal Champion on a number of occasions, the fact that he's ran roughshod pretty much over the entire WWE roster, whether it be on SmackDown or on his home brand on Raw. Okay, Strowman has been built up as a near indomitable monster, only suffering, if I recall correctly, only one pinfall loss, and that was to Roman Reigns at Fastlane last year. Actually, no, this year. Actually, my apologies, this year. And it's safe to say, okay, I think he's ready. I think Strowman is more than ready to take the reins, pun not intended, on Raw, take the Universal title from Brock Lesnar. Now, because, look, okay, supposedly they're building up to Lesnar versus Reigns, but who says it has to be for the Universal Championship? They could just have Brock versus Lesnar 2. Okay, it could just be on the undercard. You don't need these two always on top of the main event. You could have them like in one of the quasi main events that usually pockmarked all over WrestleMania. You have like the sub main events, if you will. All right, Braun. I think if you give Braun a healthy, lengthy reign as Universal Champion, maybe even going into WrestleMania. Okay, then whoever beats Strowman, somehow topples Strowman for the Universal Championship, will be that much more over. Will be established as one of the new faces of the new generation in WWE, which goes back to what I was saying, okay? The fact that Strowman has been built up so effectively as the wrestling monster, the moment you have someone preferably not named Roman Reigns, go over Braun Strowman and dethrone him for the Universal Championship, will get instant gratification, will get instant street cred for toppling probably one of the most dominant individuals in the last 2 years in WWE, if not the most dominant. That will do wonders for whoever they put up against Strowman. And I mean at this point we don't know. I mean, supposedly it's been documented that Roman Reigns is going to win the Royal Rumble. Okay, you could have John Cena win the Royal Rumble again. Okay, we don't know. Okay, we don't know. Like, okay, we know that potentially one half of the main event could be Strowman, could be Lesnar, could be Reigns. We don't know who the other half's going to be. Again, could be Lesnar. I mean, depending on who's the champion, could be Lesnar, could be Reigns, could be Strowman. I mean, so could be Samoa Joe. All right, I mean, could be AJ Styles. Could be Shinsuke Nakamura for all we know. But the point is, if they pit the right person up against Strowman, if they have him go over Strowman and take the Universal title, I guarantee that they will gain instant cred as one of the top superstars for the foreseeable future. That's like my overall. That's one of my early New Year's predictions for 2018. That if they put over someone over Strowman, not named Roman Reigns, for the Universal title, I guarantee they'll be shot. They'll basically have a rocket strapped to the back. They'll be pushed to the moon. All right, so having covered both of that, covering like what's going on in WWE, what's going on between Cena and Roman, and between Strowman and Lesnar. Like I said, we got No Mercy coming up in a few weeks. We've got Hell in a Cell coming up shortly after that. We'll go more into that next week. Supposedly on the block, we're gonna have on the block for that for Hell in a Cell. We're gonna have Shinsuke versus Jinder Mahal. Like we're gonna have Shinsuke versus Randy Orton in a number one contenders match for to face Jinder Mahal at Hell in a Cell. We had the Usos upending former tag team champions The New Day to determine the stipulation for their tag team title rematch at Hell in a Cell. So it'll be interesting to see what stipulation the Usos come up with by next week. All right, I mean, so we'll definitely have a lot to sort through once we're fully back up and running here at Bedford TV on the Wrestling Connection. But in the meantime, be sure to check out the Wrestling Connection's YouTube channel, youtube.com/The Wrestling Connection. Be sure to subscribe. Also, be sure to check out the Wrestling Connection's official website, www.thewrestlingconnection.com. Be sure to follow us on Twitter, on our official Facebook page, all other Google Plus, all different forms of social media. We're everywhere. We're all over the internet. So be sure to look us up wherever you may roam. But in the meantime, ladies and gentlemen, I've been your host, Ken Hill. Once again, thanks to Mr. Nick Giglio for being on camera today. This has been all for episode 183 of the Wrestling Connection. But reminding you, as always, to be connected, get connected, stay connected. Have a good weekend.